Good morning and welcome to Peace Out, where we are all learning together to peace out, right? I know I'm working on it, and I know, man, have I had a lot of opportunities lately to just peace out, chill, take a minute, take a breath, all of the above, right? Lots of reasons to peace out. Uh, I hope you've had a good week. This is your Friday. It doesn't really mean anything to me because I'm on 7 days a week, but I kind of do a little bit differently over the weekend. Most weekends I get more work done over the weekend than I got done over the work over the week. So we'll see. But we all right. We all right. So this week we have been diving into 3 chapters. We've only covered 3 chapters in Exodus. And it's after God has gone and God has gone and pulled his people out of Egypt, right? He takes them out of slavery, out of bondage. And it was just the first part of their journey towards the Canaan land, towards the promised land, what God promised, the land of milk and honey, sustenance and prosperity, life and liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think you, Miss Rambo, for teaching me that, right? Anyway, but it was just this very start of their journey, and they run right into the Red Sea. We talked about the 3 different kinds of water that they needed, the 3 instances. And the next chapter, if you go on to 16, God's going to give them manna. And then they're going to go on a little bit further, and they're going to have manna all the way up until they enter into the promised land, into the Canaan land. So the manna is going to last as long as they need it. It's just amazing what God does, right? And then, if you keep reading, they're going to come to another place where they have no water. Imagine that. And, Moses is going to strike a rock with a stick, which is again a symbolic of the cross and Jesus, the rock being broken and living water flowing down to us all the way down here, thousands of years later and all the way into eternity, right? So it's always these pictures. And so it's like, I was thinking, okay, what do I do for Friday? What do I do? So I was looking back over it and I was like, you know what? God made a promise in Hosea 11. And it seems like I'm shifting gears, but I'm not. So stay with me. Hosea 11:1 says, "When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son." So it's like, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense. However, as I began to think about it and meditate on it and look back at the story, I was like, man, God went the extra mile to go get his people out of bondage. Why? He wasn't mad at the Egyptians. He didn't hate the Egyptians, right? They just needed to cooperate with him a little bit better. But he's like, I'm going to go get my people. And I started thinking about it. I was like, you know what? He was preserving the lineage of Christ. He was making sure that didn't get disrupted, that the seed of the Christ, of Jesus, the Messiah, was going to be preserved. It was what an orchestration, because he had to make sure the right people were in that group that came out of Egypt that would go to the Canaan land, so that for a couple thousand years later, give or take, not quite 2,000 maybe, however many years later, so that it would be at just the right spot for Joseph and Mary to be in Bethlehem, where Jesus would be born. God was preserving the cross. That's why there's all these symbolic things through here about the water flowing and providing the manna, the bread of life. Jesus said, I am the bread of heaven. I am the bread of God, of life that comes down from heaven, right? All these things, just like, man, all these things were symbolic. I'm going to have to go study that. Man, I was going to try to get some work done today. I ain't got time. But all of these things were symbolic about Christ. He was preserving the cross. He was making sure the cross was going to line up in time, just like he had already figured it out in eternity. He'd already settled it in eternity, and he was making sure that everything in time was going to line up so that Jesus would be born in Bethlehem. Mary would be there. Joseph would be there. It was a huge orchestration, just all focused on the cross. Isn't that an amazing thing? And so I looked and I was like, you know what? This is cool too, because in Matthew 2, and I know this ain't Christmas, these scriptures aren't reserved just for Christmas. Matter of fact, I refuse to read them at Christmas. I read them the rest of the year, like now. Anyway, here in Matthew 2, the wise men came from the east, and Herod got mad. He said, let me know where this king is, because he was afraid. He didn't want to worship Jesus. He didn't care. He just wanted to make sure he killed him so he wouldn't raise up and kill him and take his throne, because that was the way it worked back then. You went into a kingdom, you started a war, and then you killed the king and you took the territory, the whole land. And so Herod, this was an act of fear. He was like, I don't want a king, oh, let me worship him. What a lie, right? And that's just the same types of lies that the devil tells us every single day, right? And if we believe them, we get ourselves in a bind. If we don't believe them, we stay in the word, we stay in peace with God. We don't get tripped up by them, right? But here it is. He's trying to kill him. What does it say? It says that when the three wise men left, it says, when they had departed, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise, take the young child and his mother, flee to Egypt. See, God didn't hate Egypt. He says, you're going to be safe in Egypt. Take the seed, take the bearer of the cross from eternity and time. He's brought the cross from eternity into time. Now go down to Egypt and preserve that seed. He said, take the young child and his mother and flee to Egypt and stay there until I bring you word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So when Joseph got up the next morning, he took the baby and his mother by night and departed for Egypt. And they stayed there until the death of Herod. And I didn't look it up. I don't know how long they stayed there, but God wasn't mad at Egypt. So that literally fulfilled the whole Exodus, really fulfilled it. Out of Egypt, I've called my son. Really fulfilled Hebrews 11 or Hosea 11:1, right? But he kind of double sealed it here, right? Because he said, okay, go stay there. You'll be safe. And he preserved the cross. The whole point was the cross. The whole point of all the symbolism, bringing them out of Egypt, was preserving the seed. The whole purpose of preserving Jesus, of course, was the cross. It was all about us. It was all about us being able to get back to God no matter what. It was all about setting things right that had been messed up in the garden. And the coolest thing, I think, to me is that I've never seen this as one action before, but this is like one action. It's like one action by God, the creator. And he said, they're going to be in Egypt. I'm going to get them out because they can't stay there. I'm going to preserve. It was all about preserving the lineage of Christ. It was all about making sure the cross happened at just the right time, in time, so that it matched eternity. And now here we are in this spot in time, and we're looking back and going, man, God orchestrated a lot bigger miracle than I thought. Now, come on. We know it was a huge miracle. He had the 10 plagues. He went and got hundreds of thousands of people. I don't even know how many people, what the head count was, right? It's in there somewhere. And I'm a numbers person. I don't know. But he went and got them, and he saves them across the wilderness for 40 years. Then they go to Canaan, and then all of the prophets and Nehemiah and all of these things in between. And then Jesus makes his entrance into time. And remember the angels saying, peace is on earth. The Prince of Peace, he's on earth now. And it's also that we could have peace with God. What an orchestration. What a huge scheme. This kind of has a negative connotation to it. I don't mean it in a negative way. What a huge plan. What a huge plot that he made sure throughout all time up until the New Testament, everything worked perfectly like this big symphony announcing the Prince of Peace has arrived. Here's the angels going, look at that, dude. Peace is on earth. How cool is that? And then Jesus is on earth and the cross. And then after the cross, we have total free access. He lives in us now. He wrote his words in our hearts and our minds. And the whole thing was this huge orchestration. I'm just seeing, it was a big enough picture before I saw that this morning. It was a big enough picture that God cared enough about his people to go get them, that he knew the exact day they went into slavery, and he made sure it was exactly to the day, 430 years later, that he knew exactly when they came out. He knew exactly when they went in, exactly when they came out, exactly what they was going to do across the wilderness. He has all these symbolisms of Christ. He's going, we're headed to the cross. You think you're going to the Canaan land, but to Canaan land and the promised land, we're going to the cross. It's a bigger picture. God's so wise, so smart. And now we're looking back, and all we see sometimes is just a really cool story. They make a movie of it. Well, we'll get to watch it on Easter. The old Yul Brynner one usually shows it around that Easter weekend, right, of Moses and him coming out. That was a cool old movie, right? You just can't beat the old technology and stuff, the parting of the Red Sea, all that. But it's more than a story. It's about the cross. It's about God's passionate pursuit of his people. And he orchestrated all of this And he's right here so that we could be sitting right now talking about, he's the Prince of Peace. We have peace. We have peace with God through the cross. The blood washes us clean. When God looks at us, he sees the righteousness of Christ, not the dumb stuff we've done, not the dirty deeds we've committed, not the wrong stuff we've done. He looks at us and sees the righteousness of Christ. And he had that in mind when he said, Moses, go keep my people. Is that such a big picture? Man, I don't preach, but I preach myself happy. This is amazing that God cares about us this much. He's still, Exodus 34:14 in the New Living, the old New Living, 1975 New Living. He's passionate about a relationship with his people, and we are his people. He's passionate about a relationship with you and with me. Man, such a big picture. I never saw this. I'm going to have to start studying this now. Thanks. I needed help finding something to study. Not. I'm already studying 2 or 3 things. I'm going to have to go back and look at this. This was powerful this morning as I began to see, man, God put all of that together so that it came into time at just the right time and out of time. It just goes right down. So much bigger picture, all because he wants to be with us. And that's why I'm going to peace out this weekend, knowing that God is Emmanuel, God with us. The Prince of Peace is with us. We ain't got no reason to not peace out. Peace out, you guys. Have a great weekend. I'll see you bright and early Monday morning.